Hello, my dear fellow spirit workers and crafters. So, I'm doing a little project here, and I'm very self taught sewing, learning how to sew, and I wanted to share this with you. I think everyone should have a craft or some kind of hobby, which is also another element that can be employed with mindfulness, meditation. So, and of course, spirit workers notoriously, make little sachets and little other dolls, even. There's all kinds of levels, skill levels, and there's always some place for everybody. I mean, so I'm self taught. I did take a class with this lady, a couple of sessions, just to learn like how do you work the machine. In fact, her class was called "How Do You Not Break the Sewing Machine," which is funny. And so I learned how to work it. But there's a lot of free tutorials online, and there's also different price points for sewing machines. This was a reasonable one, and it's a brother. And it's a fun way to be creative, and it's meditative, certainly. So it's knitting, a lot of watercolor, whatever the craft or hobby is, can be very meditative and really good for our mental health and being mindful, developing our mindfulness practice, and so on. So I'm going to then zip this up. I have no idea what this is. I'm doing an experiment on how to sew something on the bias, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that the bias makes it stretchier. So this has sort of become a tie or a corvat. I'm not sure, an ascot or something. So let's zip it up. So I just started this project, and I was like, I'm just gonna make this. Really just experimenting with fabrics on the bias and learning how to do that and how to cut the fabric. I mean, this is such a Frankenstein's monster kind of project at this point, but still, I wanted to complete it, and I thought it would be fun to share this with you. So I'm gonna start with a back stitch. Now I'm gonna go try to follow that line. Now I put these pins in the wrong way. So always have your little pin cushion handy. So I'm, like I said, somewhat self-taught here, and I'm learning. And you learn a lot from mistakes, right? Like life. I'm trying to line this up. It's not really working, but it already has a hem in it. I'm getting very close to that edge. So what I could do here, lift the presser foot and sort of adjust where I'm going with this. See if that helps. Okay, yep, I bought myself some more space. So this is all like just learning stuff, and it helped, that little part anyway. Not perfect, but better. Again, life metaphor. Might not be able to find perfection, but we can certainly improve a situation if it's not, if not perfect, right? Coming to this corner, I'm gonna back stitch. I'm gonna turn this again and try to get this line. Take this pin out. Drop your presser foot. Back stitch. I'm just going to finish it right there. Actually, I think I'll turn. Let's turn this. Drop presser foot. And back stitch. And I think that's good for this little project. So let me pull this out, and this is all a little self-cutting bar here. And that's that. So so there it is. I made this little, whatever this is. Could be like an ascot or something. And I just love that. You've seen this fabric before in my readings. And I just love it. And it has that kind of paisley look. And it does have like that stretch because it was cut on the bias. So I learned a lot about sewing, even though I have no idea what I'm doing really. So, you know, as a wise yoga instructor once said, it isn't the quality necessarily of your yoga, it's the courage that you bring to your yoga, that you're willing to try and learn. And so, again, I like that idea of that it doesn't have to be perfect, and you learn. So the next time I do a project, so I know I learned something from this, even though it's kind of quite imperfect and awkward, it still was fun to make, and creative fun pastime. And I learned about that bias cut. So you do waste more fabric when you cut on the bias, but it gives an elegant stretch and folds very nicely. This kind of fabric isn't the ideal for this kind of, let's say if it was going to become a cravat or a tie or a ascot or something like that. And I learned a lot, even though I don't really know. But one of the things I learned is that the sewing, the machine part, is like the least part of sewing. Isn't that funny? The most of what you're doing is cutting, pinning, ironing, and so your scissors are always on your nearby. And another great tool, which has fallen, let me get it, is this stitch ripper, I think it's called, but I've used it for so many things, in like fixing and connoitering and getting little threads, and so much more about sewing. So there's a metaphor in there somewhere, you know. I guess if I were to come up with an aphorism or a metaphor from this, is that the process, right? We focus so much on the end result, but the process is so important and it matters. You know, the getting there matters, and the steps along the way, and the missteps, and learning from those missteps. And it's a process. So I hope you enjoyed my little video today on crafting. And think of all the things you can make. You know, you could do this all by hand, but this is a game changer, you know. And it's quick. But a lot of it is just the planning and using, you know, how to use the fabrics, cutting, ironing is so important in sewing. And then the last part really is just zipping it up. Zip on the machine. So do give yourself a chance and craft. Try something new, whatever it is. Okay? So with that, I will say blessings, and God is love.